At the beginning, we see a man named Robert who is now on his way to his house in the forest with his two daughters, Eva and Nell. Actually, Robert always prefers to stay away from crowds. That's why he built his house deep in the forest, far from the city, from where he brings supplies for himself every week, while his two daughters live in the city. His elder daughter Eva wants to be a dancer, while his younger daughter Nell dreams of becoming a great book writer. This weekend, Robert takes his two daughters to his house in the forest to spend some family time together, so they can all enjoy the weekend together. But they don't know that soon the whole world is about to change. In the evening, while Robert is watching the TV news, strange reports start coming in from all sides about how electricity is shutting down everywhere in the world at the same time. Power is going out simultaneously all over the globe. Because of this, no one knows what's happening yet. Maybe it could be some kind of digital attack. Robert keeps thinking about all this. And after a while, the lights in their house go out too. At the same time, their phones lose signal. In other words, now they can't communicate with anyone outside. Although they think it's not a serious issue, and the government will fix everything soon. Nell now goes to the car to get a flashlight to study, but carelessly, she doesn't close the car door completely, and since it stays open all night, the light remains on. As a result, by morning, the car battery is dead. Now, in the morning when Robert sits in the car to try to go to the city to get a sense of the situation, he finds out that their car won't start, because Nell left the car door open last night. Robert now looks for a way to charge the car battery, while outside, the two sisters try to find out from the radio what the situation is like in the outside world. The radio says that people should wait. Governments of every country are trying to restore power, and in the meantime, ordinary people need to be patient. All three of them now try different ways to start the car, but none of their ideas work. Meanwhile, they keep hearing on the radio that scientists are still trying to figure out how electricity could survive even after a bomb attack. On the other hand, in Asia, riots have even started because of the blackout. So here in America, it's announced that as long as the government is fixing everything, everyone should stay inside their homes and arrange food and water rations in advance so they don't have to go outside. In such situations, many people can become dangerous in the pursuit of looting. Now, since their car won't start, they can't go to the city either. So they stay at home and keep listening to the news on the radio. But as 14 days pass, even the radio signal stops coming in. In other words, whatever had started outside kept getting worse as electronic items stopped working, and now even their radio has shut down. Gradually, as they continue living in this house in the forest, 10 days pass, and they still haven't gotten electricity back. They are now rationing their food and water. Robert tries yet another idea to start the car, changing things up in hopes that it will work. Since it doesn't run on electricity, he uses it to charge the car battery and manages to start the car. Seeing this, the two sisters are very happy as well. After a full 10 days, all three of them finally get into their car and set off toward the city. Until now, they had no idea what was happening in the outside world. On the way, they notice that the houses near the city have been secured all around with iron sheets. Everything here is calm. On the other hand, they see that many gas stations along the road have shut down. When the three of them finally reach the city, the first thing they want to do is get food and water from a store. They see that most of the items in the store are already gone. Just then, the store owner, Stan, comes in from behind with a gun and tells them not to try to loot anything from his store. Just yesterday, he even shot at two people. Robert quickly tries to explain to him that they intend to buy things with money. Now Stan tells them about everything that has happened over the past 10-day show. After the power outage, people started looting the nearby stores. As a result, all the store owners are now even shooting at people. Stan also mentions that now there are very few items left in his store, and the price of every item has increased 100-fold. Seeing this situation, Robert buys up all the remaining goods, because they have no idea what might happen in the world ahead, and money is just paper to them now. They don't take much, but they do take some gasoline in case they ever need to return from the forest to the city. That's why they need this gasoline. When paying, Stan asks Robert where his house is, and for the safety of his family, Robert lies and says they live in this city. But from his ID, Stan figures out that Robert's family home is actually far away from the city, deep in the forest. Meanwhile, Robert decides that since the situation is getting worse day by day, he must take action. So, from today until everything is safe again, he will hide in the forest. Before leaving today, Robert gathers the remaining supplies and tools that will be very useful for surviving in the forest. Meanwhile, his two daughters go out to meet their friends. Before Eva leaves, she practices dancing with her teacher, and Nell wants to meet her boyfriend, Ilya. Here, Ilya and all his friends are having a party around a fire, just like in the old days. They still believe that everything will only last a few days, and then the government will make everything normal again. So why shouldn't they enjoy this time? That's why, like many of his friends, he hasn't even stored any food or water. Now, at night, Robert picks up his two daughters, and the three of them head back toward their house in the forest. They will stay there until things return to normal. But as they're on their way, they see on the road how some people are doing something bad to a passenger in a stopped car. Robert even gets out to try to help them, but he sees that there are two people with weapons, and on top of that, his own two daughters are sitting in his car. Now, for their safety, Robert decides to back away from the road, ignore the situation, and continue toward his own house. The three of them realize from this incident that the world is no longer the same as before. Now, there are no rules or regulations. People can do whatever they want by force of arms. So Robert decides that they will not go outside anymore. The next few weeks pass with the three of them staying safe in their house, but the power still hasn't come back. And now, they can't even get any news on the radio about what's happening in the outside world. So Robert warns his daughters that because of such a long power outage outside, it's possible that society has completely collapsed. In other words, chaos may have spread everywhere outside by now, but because his own house is built like a fortress, they are still safe for the time being. Now Robert wants his two daughters to learn how to survive on their own here in the wilderness, because for the past few weeks he has been doing everything by himself. And if something happens to him, what will the two sisters do then? Robert then starts explaining everything in the jungle. He talks about how there is a natural water source nearby, and that he is also raising some chickens, from which they will get eggs every day. He will also start farming nearby, and from time to time they can go into the jungle to hunt wild animals. In other words, they will never lack food. They just need to learn how to live naturally. However, hearing this makes Nell angry, because she can't live such a life. She has always lived her life in comfort. So how can she suddenly start farming and doing all this now? Now, as usual, Robert goes into the jungle to cut firewood for his family, but he doesn't notice that a screw on his chainsaw has come loose. As a result, the chainsaw hits his leg. Hearing Robert's pain-filled screams, his two daughters, who were relaxing at home, quickly run out and find their father. They see that a large part of their father's leg has been cut by the chainsaw, causing heavy bleeding. Neither of the two sisters even knows how to give first aid. They don't even know how to stop the bleeding. And seeing the blood, they become frightened. Their father had already warned them that they needed to learn how to handle such situations. But at the time, none of them listened to him. Now Robert says that he might not survive. But before he dies, he makes his two daughters promise that from now on, they will change themselves, and that they will truly learn to do everything on their own. The two of them must always stay together so that they can protect each other. Because now, there are no rules or order left in the world. There are many things out there that can harm them. And now, he himself will not survive to help them. Saying this, Robert finally passes away. If the two sisters had learned everything as he had told them earlier, perhaps he would still be alive today. But now it is too late. So in the morning, they bury their father where he died, then return home and cry. Their mother had died of an illness when they were very young. Since then, their father had raised them. At home, it was always their father who took care of everything. The two of them don't know how to do anything on their own. So for the next few days, they remain worried like this. But they realize that now they must learn to do everything by themselves. Gradually, 2 months have passed since the global blackout. The two sisters have now started to handle some of the household chores in their father's absence. Although, before Robert died, he had set up many things in advance for them. So as soon as they get up, the first thing they do is eat eggs from their own chickens. After that, they do a bit of farming. One day, Eva suggests that they use a little oil from their supply to run the house generator. This way, they'll be able to see electricity after a long time. At the same time, they can watch their father and mother's old videos. Because, due to the lack of power, since their father's death, they haven't even been able to look at his photos or videos. Because after the blackout, their phones had shut down. But now, Neil refuses Eva's idea. That's because they only have 5 gallons of oil left. And if they ever need to go to the city again in the future, they won't have enough oil to make the return trip. So Neil says that they should save the remaining oil for any emergencies. This doesn't sit well. An argument breaks out between the two sisters, and for the next few days, they don't even speak to each other. But then one day, Neil discovers that their chickens are gone. That is, some wild animal broke into their coop at night and took all the chickens. Actually, their father Robert used to take care of the coop before. But back then, the two sisters hadn't learned anything about it. And now, because their coop was weak, they lost their chickens. And now, they won't get any eggs, which means they'll have to cut down even more on the food they eat for themselves, beyond just their survival rations. Although this is a loss, this new crisis brings them closer together again. Those who hadn't spoken to each other for the past week realize that in such a situation, they have to work together. So they decide that starting tomorrow, they will make their home even more secure. Their discussion goes on. Just then, someone scratches at their door, and Neil, frightened, grabs her father's gun. Because who knows, maybe someone has come to rob them. But when they look, they see it's Eli Neil's boyfriend from the city. Now Eli starts telling them everything about how, at that time, they all thought everything would get better soon. That's why they hadn't stocked up on food supplies. But when weeks passed without electricity, the situation in the city got even worse. People started killing each other just for food, and he barely managed to escape the city with his life. Eli says that for the past month, he's been wandering from place to place. And then, finally he remembered Neil's house in the woods, the address Neil had given him the last time they met. In other words, things outside have gone from bad to worse. And now after so long, Eli is overjoyed to finally have a full meal. In the morning, Neil shows Eli around the whole house. He even shows him a treehouse nearby that he built in the forest a few days ago. It's there that the two of them become intimate for the first time. But Neil's older sister Eva is worried, because with Eli now staying with them, their food supplies are running out even faster. And if things go on like this, they'll starve to death even sooner. She tells Nell that's why she should ask Eli to leave this place. Nell meets with Eli and tells him everything, and Eli agrees. He had found out a few days ago, when he first arrived here, that another city's settlement is still in good condition. So he offers Nell to come with him, and the two of them can leave together and travel the world. Nell agrees, and then Nell goes and tells Eva everything. At first, Eva gets very angry that her sister Nell is leaving her to go with her boyfriend. She says that even though the outside world is dangerous, they shouldn't even think about leaving a safe place like this. But Nell doesn't listen. The next day, when they are about to leave, Nell, crying, apologizes for having to leave her sister Eva alone. Eva also gives her best wishes as Nell leaves, telling her to take care of herself and to only travel through the forest paths, not through the main cities, because it could be more dangerous there. Now, after Nell leaves with Eli, Eva tries to cheer herself up by dancing, even after all these months, because she's alone now. She couldn't stop her sister from leaving. On the other hand, after walking through the forest all day with Eli, Nell decides to stop somewhere for the night and sleep. That's when Nell remembers her father's last promise. No matter what happens, the two sisters must always stay together. Before he died, he told them to always look after each other. So now Nell feels really bad. In the morning, she tells Eli that she can't go on with him. Eli also knows he can't go back with her because there's already so little food left there. So he decides to continue his journey alone, and Nell finally returns to her sister. Eva sees her coming from afar and is overjoyed, and they hug each other tightly. Now gradually 6 months have passed since the power outage. The two sisters have gotten used to this new world. They go into the forest to collect different kinds of berries for food and store them so they don't have to go out when it rains. And they grow vegetables and fruits in their own garden. In other words, this new world has started to become normal for them. Now they're sure that they may never go back to the city. There's no hope of the power ever coming back anyway. And the world will go on like this. So one night they decide to have a drink. They use a little of their oil to run the house generator for a while. Finally, after 6 months, they see light for the first time. They quickly charge their phones and laptops and sit together to watch old family videos. Both of them get very emotional because back then they had no worries. Their father used to handle everything. But now, when the world has suddenly changed, they've had to change themselves too. Their own dreams, their dreams from before, have been left far behind with the old world. After a while, the oil runs out again. All the lights go out. The next day, as usual, Eva goes to chop wood near the house to light a fire, and Nell heads out into the forest to gather ferns as part of her share of the work. This time she goes a bit farther from the house than usual. While Eva was alone at home, someone comes up from behind. It's not just anyone, but Stan, the same Stan whose store Robert had first gotten supplies from. Stan had secretly found out their address. Now, standing in front of her, he reveals how everyone in the city is starving to death, forced to kill and eat each other to survive. Meanwhile, Eva's family is living a comfortable life here. Now Eva, frightened, lies and says that her father Robert has gone to fetch water, so Stan should wait and talk to him when he returns. But Stan, now furious, lunges at Eva and says he'll leave before her father comes back. Saying this, Stan starts to force himself on Eva. She keeps screaming, but Asnel had gone a bit deeper into the forest, so he doesn't hear anything. After Stan finished everything, he started taking oil in the car from their house. He was about to leave, thinking that Eva's father would return soon this time. So he escaped with all the remaining oil in their car. And when he finally returned, it was already too late. He saw that Eva was in a very bad condition. She tries to take care of Eva, but now Eva has gone into complete trauma. And Nell now starts securing the entire house from all sides so that no one like Stan can get in again. Days go by slowly, but Eva can never recover from that incident. To distract Nell's attention, she pretends that everything is normal. But none of this helps. Now, another 2 months pass by, and since that incident with Stan, Eva still hasn't left the house. Nell does all the work near the house. And now, because they don't go into the forest and stay inside, their food supplies are almost running out. Today, as Nell is looking at the empty food containers, her eyes fall on the envelope. It belonged to their father, Robert. He had kept some seeds in it so that the two sisters could grow pumpkins. Now Eva doesn't go outside at all, so Nell tries to plant them herself. While trying to move a heavy stone, she strains her back and collapses right there. Seeing Nell in such pain, Eva finally comes out of the house for the first time in 2 months. She helps her sister Nell and brings her inside. Now Nell was safe, but Eva admits that the garden outside reminds her of that incident with Stan. so she can't go outside now. Nell then reassures her, saying that's why they should forget the past and focus on their future. But in the next few days, Eva's condition starts to worsen and she almost throws up. Nell soon realizes that Eva is actually pregnant. The baby is the result of what Stan did to her. Now another problem stands before them. How will they abort the baby? There are no pills or other medical facilities available now. Eva says that they have to live with it. Another 7 months pass by. That means a year and a half has passed since the blackout. Now Eva could give birth at any time. Because of this, Nell has been trying to learn techniques from books over the past few days that would help her safely deliver her sister's baby. Nell now does most of the chores so that Eva can rest, and she makes sure Eva doesn't lack any vitamins her body needs. For this reason, Nell now goes into the forest to hunt wild boar as well, and at night, she secures the house from all sides so that no one can get inside. But the rain and storms keep getting worse. And since Nell has to do all the household chores now, that's why she doesn't get time to repair the roof of the house. And one morning when she wakes up, they hear a loud noise. Nell thinks someone is trying to break in, but it turns out it was their roof, which has now started to collapse because of the rain and storm. And once again, she starts to feel like maybe her baby is about to come. Now Nell notices that the roof is starting to break and wonders how many more hours it will take before the baby arrives. So, staying in the house won't be safe anymore. For safety, Nell takes her along and goes to their old tree house, which she had been building over the past few months. Yes, she had been building it over the past few months. And that night, when another storm comes, Nell somehow manages to have a safe delivery. She gives birth to a perfectly healthy baby boy. The next morning, after the storm has passed, the two sisters celebrate that they have successfully delivered the baby. After a while, both of them return to the house. Then they see that even more of the roof has collapsed. They realize that they won't be able to stay in this house much longer. Staying here would be risky for the baby and Eva. Now Eva comes up with an idea and says that they won't be able to survive in this house during the rainy season anyway. So why not use a little oil and burn the house down completely? Then they can shift to the tree house. Actually, Eva was also afraid that Sten knew the address here. So who knows, he might come back here someday and try to take the baby away. So if he ever returns and sees the house burned down, he'll think that the whole family died in the fire. And then he'll leave. Now Nell thinks Eva's idea makes sense. So first they gather all their important belongings from the house. They start packing everything so they can move all their belongings to the tree house. And now, when night falls and they've taken out all their important things, they finally pour oil inside the house and set it on fire. After living here for a year and a half, they now burn down their last modern structure. In other words, from now on, they'll have to live completely in harmony with nature. The two sisters also reflect on how, a year and a half ago when all the disasters began and they came home with their father, they didn't even know how to cook for themselves. But when their father died and the situation changed, they had to adapt with time. And now, they can build a house on their own in the forest, farm, and even hunt for food. Now, along with everything else, they are also raising a baby. This disaster has made them even stronger. And this same disaster has also revealed the true nature of some people to them. They have learned how, as situations change, some people's morals and principles are left behind. And they have come to realize that no one knows when the world will return to the way it was before. But before the world returns to how it was, now, like Nell, very few survivors have learned to live in harmony with nature. And this is where this movie comes to an end.